Hello and welcome to the Edfund Writing Center tutorial, Essay Writing, Words of Wisdom.
Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the difference between history papers and English essays. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the thesis, which is, the backbone of your paper. If you don't have a good thesis, you don't have a good paper. So we're going to go over the differences and similarities between history and English theses.
So first, how do they differ? In history, you're usually answering the question, how? How did Hitler invade Poland? Then, you need historical proof. You can't just come up with a random idea and say it was history. Your thesis must be rooted in tangible facts. That's pretty similar to having historical proof. And, usually, history theses answer some cause and effect question.
Now, for English papers, we're usually focusing on a work of literature or a couple of works of literature, and often the question that we're answering is why. It also deals a lot with the perspective and perception of events. Some characters change their perspective over the course of a work of literature, and you might want to talk about this, so you would talk about that in your theses. It also must be an arguable thesis. You can't just say something that's very obvious that is common knowledge. You have to have something that somebody else could possibly refute it. And that's why it's always important to have, facts that back up your thesis, because you can argue those. Lastly, it connects to a larger idea that's outside of the work, like some big idea about, life in the world.
Then, how are they alike? Because after all, they're both writing essays. Both have to prove a point. It would be a pretty dull paper if you just put a bunch of facts down. You have to be really specific. You don't want to have to write a 20-page paper to answer your thesis. Then, they always go at the end of the introductory paragraph. It can be more than one sentence. Don't be afraid to split it up if it's sounding awkward. And most importantly, never ever fit your facts to your thesis. Fit your thesis to the facts.
Because you can always change a thesis, but you can't always change the facts. Actually, you can never change the facts, so that's important. Alright, here's an example of a history thesis. So not quite. The purpose of this paper is to delve into the mindset behind Truman's decision to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. Alright, so this thesis does have a few things that you're supposed to have. It states the purpose of the paper, but it doesn't make any claims at all. So a better alternative, just write, the U.S. confrontation with the Soviets was the key factor in Truman's decision to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. Now see, in the first one, it doesn't say what the mindset was of Truman, but in the second one, it does. And that's the important part, because that's what you're arguing.
Now for the English thesis. An example that's not too great is Tom, a young man, has a rebellious personality. That's kind of just a point. Like, someone who read the book could just pick that up. It's not really arguable. And then you have the just right thesis, which is, through the use of imagery and diction, Steinbeck reveals Tom's noble conscience and characterizes him as a rebellious, albeit rash, young man. This is good, because you say why the author does this, and how he does it.
Alright, and that's all we have for you today. So, thanks for watching, and we hope this helped.